Nakua ke amakua ke poe kaiko Molokai nui a hina Aloha Aloha Mahalo Pulikako Aloha na kua, na oma kua, na poe kahiko mahalo. Mahalo e ka la, e ka aina, mahalo e ka makani. E hoi here mai a kua, e pili mai, e malama pono.
Yeah.
Kua, to our gods, our goddesses, ao makua, to our guardians, and poe kahiko, to our ancestors, we thank you. Thank you for all the blessings of this day, of this moment to come together once again and to continue our share and continue our exploration of the many teachings and understandings of our ancestors. For this purpose, we invite our ancestors to join us, to draw near to us and to protect us and to shield us and to guide us in all that needs to be shared. And we'd like to say that we aloha you, we love you, and we mahalo you, we thank you. And we send this prayer to you now in flight with a sacred and a powerful word. Ea mama, ea mama, ea mama, mahalo na koa. Okay, Joe, off to you.
Okay. Aloha, Maika, ko. Hello, everybody. So 2 weeks ago, we did, the session was on Pono and Ho'oponopono, and the recording is up for anyone who wants to review it on the website, and it's also sent in the newsletter. And then, so this week, the topic is Oia'i'o, which means truth, and the line of being on the line of truth is what we're going to be talking about today. Mahalo, over to you, Kawika.
Okay, mahalo. Yes, today's topic, today's discussion is it's a pretty deep topic, and well, I know that it's evoked many a response. And this concept of Oia'i'o is it is the essence of truth. I actually have a little bit of reading that I'd like to begin with after this bit of a share. And Oia'i'o is it is the essence of truth. It's the spirit of truth. And it stems from the understanding that there is only one truth in our universe, that this one truth is the line of truth. It has nothing to do with the Western understanding of truth, in that it has nothing to do with your truth or my truth. It is the truth. And our ancestors were very attuned to the truth, and they did everything that they could to live their lives in accordance to the truth. This form of life is what we talked about in depth the last session. We call this pono. Pono is righteousness, is to be in right alignment, to be free and clear in oneself, in your spirit, in your mind, in your body. And you are pono when you are living the truth. So this truth that we speak of it's the universal truth. It is the one truth. We also refer to it as the line of truth. And there's no such thing as being partially truthful. You either are or you are not. You're either on the line of truth or you are not. And it's very simple in that understanding. And before I go any further, I have a little bit of reading. This reading I'm about to share with all of you comes from the book Nanaike Kumu. It's volume 1. There's 3 volumes out now, but I love going back to the first volume. It's really the meaty one for me, and it's also the one that I have a personal connection with. Well, I should say a personal history with. So here we go. Oia'i'o. It's absolute truth, sincerity. It's the spirit of truth. The derivatives are oia, which is truth, the oia, and i'o, which refers to substance, flesh, meat, or muscle. Literally translated, Oia'i'o is the flesh, meat, or muscle of truth. Figuratively speaking, it is the spirit of truth, or once again, the essence of truth. Now we get into some great depth. I'll read a bit of it, but I want to move to another section in just a moment. Truth telling, old Hawaii knew, had many dimensions. It still has. In the past or present, one might tell oia, the simple statement of deed, event, generally acknowledged fact, or honest personal conclusion. My canoes are sturdy. Perhaps others made faster ones, said the builder of old. I type 70 words a minute, said the job-seeking secretary of today. 2 and 2 are 4, the teacher told the children. I have studied the clouds carefully. They show this is not a good day for fishing, advised the kahuna kilo. The kahuna kilo is a priest who studied natural phenomenon. You need new brake linings and a tune-up. Otherwise, the car is in pretty good shape, reported the mechanic. All of these statements, given honestly and with every effort towards accuracy, are oia, plain truth, unvarnished truth, facts or conclusions told without embellishment, innuendo, or emotional involvement in the telling. One may also tell partial truths or slanted truths, exaggerations of truth, truths so emphasized that conflicting facts, opinions, or arguments are minimized or omitted. The law, politics, advertising, and public relations know this truth-telling well. So does irresponsible journalism. And often, to balance a patient's despair with hope, so do physicians. This truth-telling is oha ohala. The word comes from oha, spreading, as in vines, and hala, fault, wrong, or error. Ohala, ohala, then is more literally spreading error under the guise of truth. Or one may tell what is absolute and complete truth. One may speak the very essence of truth, what we are referring to here as Oia'i'o. Oia'i'o has many characteristics. It is total truth told without innuendos, intentional omission, or slanting of facts and presentation. It is a let the chips fall where they may statement of facts. Yet it is truth that goes beyond intellectual openness. Oia'i'o, says Ms. Pukui, who was one of the authors of this book, is truth in the feeling sense. You feel whether what you are saying is oia'i'o or not. Hawaiians believed the intellect and emotions both came from the na'au, the viscera or gut. Real truth, real sincerity comes from the na'au oia'i'o, from truthful guts. This is the spirit of truth specified in Ho'oponopono. Now, this is the part I wanted to get into. It must pervade the relating of facts or deeds, to quote Dr. Heretic. Ho'oponopono requires the telling of all the essential material, no matter how painful this may be, no matter if what is told pains others. The point is that the telling must not be done in vindictive ways or with any desire to hurt. Nothing essential must be held back. Actions and errors of omission or commission pertinent to the problem must be totally revealed. This absolute truth-telling often entails some introspective awareness, perhaps even real insight. But as I see it, this is not a requirement. This is Pukui's words. Nor is any great emotional effort. For one person in one situation, truth-telling may be the most painful process. For another, it may be easy, perhaps longed for confession and catharsis. The essential requirement in Ho'oponopono is the total revealing of what really happened. For until everyone involved knows clearly who did what to whom and why, no remedy for the situation can be reached. That, of course, is only one aspect of Oia'i'o, or absolute truth. It seems especially applicable, but not limited, to the relating of events. But Oia'i'o also means sincerity of feeling. Outside of Ho'oponopono, this sincerity was a basic requirement in all of Hawaii's forgiving, freeing, releasing practices. A curse might be removed by various means if the one cursed was truly repentant. Prayer, sincere prayer, Pukui stressed, could avert disaster, cancel punishment, restore health or happiness. If we take the Oia'i'o concept out of its Ho'oponopono or even its wider Hawaiian setting, the requirement of sincerity remains a sound basis for successful human relationships. So there's one Oia'i'o is a pillar. Yeah, it's one of the pillars that our ancestors share with us in regards to the foundation that we've been really kind of exploring in these talks with each other. And this pillar, again, is that it's that essence of truth, it's the spirit of truth. And as you can see, or as you heard in the reading, it has a very direct relationship to the process of Ho'oponopono, which our ancestors developed. Yeah. It has a very direct relationship to the course of events, for example, or establishing an understanding of an individual or an entire family's current circumstances, or the events that led up to that state of being within the family. And however, it's not, Oia'i'o is not contained within the parameters of Ho'oponopono as a process. That it really stems out into every facet of life, and is particularly significant when we're talking about healthy relationships, the well-being of relationships, and the significance of communication within relationships, but more importantly, the depth of feeling, right? They choose to use the English word sincerity to describe it, and that's a good word. It's about remaining, it's about getting to the core, and it's about remaining on that core and engaging with one another as human beings, as family, and also remembering that everything around us is family. So that relationship is a constant, and that essence of truth is revealed as we progress and we engage in those relationships that we are part of. Yeah. There are multitudes of layers of truth telling and the sharing of truth, as mentioned. And really, I'm really interested in hearing what your perspective, what your understanding, and more importantly, what you heard and what kind of inspired each of you in this sharing. So I'd like to open it up at this time, and get some dialogue happening, get some conversation happening around the topic of Oia'i'o, of truth. Is there anyone that would like to start us off, or Joe, would you like to start us off?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Kawika. Yeah, I guess what touches me the most and what in what you've just shared is that connecting to that deep sort of sense of knowing what is the truth, and connecting also with with sincerity. And what you were saying is that there's no, in the speaking of truth, there's no embellishments, there's no adding nuances or perspectives or opinions. The truth just is, and if there's embellishments and opinions and other things added, then it's not the truth, it's not the complete absolute truth. So for example, being able to being able to speak your perspective, well, no, sorry, it's not. It's being able to speak the facts without adding anything, without adding a slant, a nuanced, slant to infer something. It's literally saying it, as it is, and coming from that deep place. And in Ho'oponopono, the truth is what is sought, so that the truth of relationships, of things that have happened, is spoken. And so the entanglement that has come, from from perspectives and opinions can be kind of shaken off to come back to a sense of what the truth is and what it means to be on the truth and what that actually does in terms of your relationship, you know, to others and to all things. And I mean, for me, you know, there's an aspect of, I'm not sure if you said this, but, you know, truth is what is. It's just what is. And so it's, for me, it's trying to move with that and remind myself and move into that space and, you know, yeah, with sincerity and with knowing when you're on the line of truth and when you may have moved away from it, which is that you're not on it. And one more thing I was going to say is just that the alignment, that correct alignment, you know, that in Pono, which is what Pono is, and so truth, being on the line of truth, is part of being Pono, an essential part of being Pono. Okay.
Mahalo, Joe. And you know, something that came up for me in your share is that many a times we share the truth with emotion. And sometimes that emotion can cause us to be pointed or sometimes aggressive with the truth. And the point that I was inspired to share is that it is, if it is spoken out of malice, then it is not Oia'i'o. We must always understand that the other pillars that we've been sharing and exploring must be in their rightful place as well. So we must share Oia'i'o with aloha, with love. And it can't be pointed. Yeah, it can't be a pointed Oia'i'o. Okay. So mahalo, Joe. There were many things that you shared in there that were really inspiring. All right. I'd like to go to, well, before I name anybody off, is there anybody that is inspired to go, has a question, or is inspired to share about Oia'i'o, truth?
I can speak next.
Yep, great.
So I noticed, yeah, thank you for sharing and the reading, the commentary. I noticed when you were talking that you introduced the line of truth as the spirit of truth, the universal truth, and you also used the word absolute truth. So I'm just correlating here from previous teachings in Buddhism. Buddhism talks about two truths, the absolute truth and relative truth. So the relative truth I liken to when you were talking about partial truths or even lies can have some truth, emotional truth that's colored and flavored with one's own either positive or negative emotions. The truth, the white lie, for example, not the full truth. So for me, my understanding is that falls into the category of relative truth, my personal truth, for example. Joe alluded to opinions and views as a relative truth, where the absolute truth or the spirit of truth, as you say, the universal truth can't really be argued with. It can't really be challenged or questioned, or it's fact free of emotion, free of feeling, really, and inclusive of love, and I would even say compassion. So I think that's all I've got to contribute. And if I'm seeing it a little bit twisted, please say. Thank you.
No, thank you. That was a beautiful share. and yeah, you know, that spirit of truth, Oia'i'o, really is, you know, this is something that Oia'i'o is just because we say that Oia'i'o is void of emotion does not mean that it's lacking in feeling. Yeah. Right. Sincerity. This is the sincerity facet that they're attempting to convey, yeah, in their writing. That the particular Puku'i is Puku'i and Heritage are attempting to yeah, to display, to demonstrate, right? There's a very big difference in and I guess this is also an important component to be shared. There's a big difference in the thinking of a Hawaiian, the thinking of our ancestors, our ancient ancestors, between emotions and feelings. Yeah. There's a difference. And the difference doesn't mean that either one of them is more important than the other. It simply means that they're two separate, they're two different words that are connected. Yeah, two different worlds, realms of our human beingness that are connected. And the emotions, for example, are our ancestors were really clear that if you want to change the way that you emotionally experience the situation, then you have to change the way that you think. Yeah, change the thinking and you change the emotional response or reaction to it. And there's years of disciplining the mind, disciplining your ike, your knowledge, your po'o, your head, your mind, your brain. Yeah, and it comes much further down the line than learning how to use your na'au. Yeah. Part of the reason that they mentioned the na'au Oia'i'o, yeah, that truthful guts, because We utilize our na'au to navigate through life, to navigate through this universe, to navigate through our experiences. This is what we learn how to utilize first. Yeah, the na'au is that deep, deep within. It's that place that resides in all of us, that's deep, deep within, that knows. And it will always tell us the truth. That deep innards, that deep, deep within, it will always tell us what is right and will always tell us what is wrong. And we learn, you know, as a culture, as a Polynesian cultural as a whole, really, we trained our youth, we trained our children to listen to their na'au first before any kind of discipline would take place in regards to the realm of the mind. You learned how to listen, you learned how to watch, you learned how to smell, taste, feel, yeah, first. This way, you know, yeah. And then the mind comes, here's the thing with between the relationship between the mind and your na'au. Yeah. In today's culture, right, in today's times, there's a conflict between the mind and the intuition. And that's because it's been separated in Western society within the human being. When in actuality, when in Oia'i'o, yeah, the truth is that your mind, yeah, and your na'au, yeah, your intuition are the best of friends. Yeah. They walk together hand in hand. And it's a really brilliant way in which our ancestors demonstrated to us many things. The truth and the oneness that we're born with, that oneness that we're talking about. Because the other truth, yeah, the other Oia'i'o, the deeper residing Oia'i'o that's yearning to be shared right now, is that there is no separation. There never has, there never was, and there never will be. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, that's Oia'i'o. There's no separation between me and the wind, me and the trees, me and the land, me and you. Yeah, me and my ancestors in the spiritual realm. No separation. So, but we create separation, and because it's been created, we've been taught that. For other reasons, but you know, that's neither here nor there right now. So that space from deep, deep within it's the navigator, right? And no matter where the inspiration comes from in our universe to you, yeah, whether it's from your ancestors or it's from, you know, the an interaction, yeah, with your family at breakfast, or it's you know, it's the state of affairs of your business or your career. No matter where the inspiration is coming from, yeah, you receive it, and when there's an alignment in your being, then your intuition, your intuition receives it, and your mind says, okay, cool, this is how we do it. Yeah. Or vice versa. Your mind receives the inspiration, and it's it starts going on its excursion with it, and then your intuition is like, okay, if that's the inspiration you want to go with, then act now or do this. Right. So either way, when there's clarity in your being and there's nothing hindering or blocking that connection that you have, then the relationship between your now, your intuition, and your mind become the best of friends. Yeah, they come in alignment with each other. Yeah, and they come to alignment with each other on the line of truth. So anyway, that one got me going. Mahalo. Thank you, Karen. Robin, I'd love to go to you. What does the kupunas, what do the elders have to share about truth? Oh, you gotta unmute.
It's an interesting conversation. To have a need to embellish, to have a need to come off the line of truth, for want of another word, is the root cause fear. Sorry? I can't hear you.
I'm just agreeing with you. Yep, keep going.
Oh, no. That's what was coming through to me as you were talking. That's just my observation through life, that when people, they've moved into fear, and often unknowing that they have moved into fear, and from that space they will give an answer which they think will make things okay for them. I'm not explaining this very well, but yes, it's interesting. I'm enjoying the conversation. I've got nothing more to share.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And what, you really nailed it on the head with the not knowing component. That one really got me. There is, and the relationship that you brought forward with not the unknown and the fear of that unknown. And I loved also the way that you phrased it in regards to some of the, speaking of some of the things that take us away from truth, that draw us away from that line of truth. And fear is a really strong one reason. That's one of the pohakus. It's one of the stones that we spoke of the last session. That
I was just going to ask you, was that one of the stones?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Fear, anger. Yeah. Anger, hatred, jealousy. Those are stones that take us off of the path. Yeah, that would cause us to step off of that line of truth. And
I
again,
think for me, that fear is the most what's the word I'm looking for? Fear is the biggest stone.
Yeah.
Especially in children, how young they are when they learn through fear of getting into trouble.
Yeah.
To not tell the truth. And isn't that sad?
Yeah, it is. You know, it is. And it's unfortunate there are so many it's unfortunate that we live in a system where we value more about being told what the truth is instead of valuing the capacity or developing the tools to know the truth for oneself.
Yes. We've only got to think about, you know, when children are young and they're still connected to the spirit world, when they come, you know, through and they talk to their friends and that gets them into trouble, you know.
Yeah.
What hope?
Yeah. Well, and that's that's another sad thought. That is a sad thought. And it evokes emotion in me, to think that to think how far we've come from that.
True.
Yeah, to where today, many a times the initial reaction to a child speaking to something that isn't there or having an invisible friend, right, is you're reprimanded for it. Yeah, or you're questioned about it. Yeah, it's the parents question it. The questions worry about it. The parents worry about it. And and therefore squander it. They try to, they simply try to do what they've been taught to do. Which is to make it not happen anymore. Right? Because it's not normal. Yeah, it's not normal, or it's not it's just not acceptable, not accepted. But there was a time where that was very much encouraged. Yeah. Like
how
like
sad it's gone.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we went and learned about our na'au first. We went to learn that intuition. We went to learn that communication first, then onto the mind. Yes.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought I'd add to that. What you said about how it's sad that we've moved away, where children are essentially, told what is true and what is not true, like always corrected at every turn, and like, no, that's not true, that's not actually there, that's not how that works. Like, sort of the concept of when you're a kid and you're in the car watching out the window and you see the moon. I remember thinking when I was little that the moon was following us, because I could see it whenever I looked out the window. No matter what, I could always see it. So I was like, then, well, obviously, clearly the moon is following us. Like, that's the only conclusion I could possibly draw from this. And obviously, if you say that to your teachers or whatever, you will be immediately corrected and like, no, that's not how it works at all. You're wrong. But there's actually a social theory that is becoming more and more popular these days in sort of parenting, which is that there's this idea that children are not mini adults. Like, people see children as undeveloped adults or undeveloped, people, essentially. But there's this theory that's coming on the rise, which is that children are their own stage of being. They're not, undeveloped adults or yet to become people. They are their own people. They're in their own stage of being. And even though fundamentally the moon is definitely not following you, it is true to the child, and they will learn, like, their stage of learning, like, thinking that, and there's this idea coming through that you shouldn't correct, like, you should, obviously later, and, you're probably gonna have to learn about the way things the way the world works, I guess. But there's this social theory, I forget what it's called, but it's becoming more and more popular, that you shouldn't correct your kid. You shouldn't say, no, your imaginary friend can't ever sit at the table, they don't exist. You shouldn't say, no, that's not true. You should let them live in their world and experience that stage of being to its fullest. And then, when the time is ready, they will move on and sort of learn, I say true in quotation marks, but what is true for them at that stage is true for them. Like, they're not lying when they say, my imaginary friend's doing this. They're just experiencing their own sort of stage of being. And I just wanted to say that because, while it is sad that for the longest amount of time, there has been a lot of sort of stunting in the, of children in that area. But I think it's changing again. I think, new ways of teaching, of teaching or even letting children teach themselves is coming to the forefront. And I think it's changing again in a good way. So don't be too sad. It's okay. I think good things are happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that. I see the continued change. And look, a big part of that of this conversation, particularly at this point right here, is there is a totally different understanding of the family dynamic. Yeah. Everyone in the family, first off, let's make this really clear. Everyone in your community was your family. Right? Like every, you know what I mean? And I'm just talking, I'm talking to everyone, right? I'm just but everyone was your family, right? And everyone had a role, everyone had a place, right? So, and there was an understanding of that station that you held within the family and its importance, right? For example, here's what I mean. When we were born, in an old day, in the old times in Hawaii, when you were born, you were raised by your grandparents.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Grandma Robin. Okay. You were raised by your grandparents. Your parents were out working. Yeah, they were working the fields. They were doing what they had been taught to do, by their grandparents. Yeah. So the place, and what I'd also like to share too is that there were inner cycles within a family unit. Yeah. So you had your Oia'i'os, you had your keiki, and you had your Oia'i'os. Yeah, for example, your keiki are your small children. Yeah, these are your babies. You know what I mean? And then you had your Oia'i'o, and your Pio are like, they're old enough to watch after the babies. Yeah, to do the heavy labor of caring for their siblings, right? So like the first three born would be looking and caring after the second or third or fourth or fifth ones born, right? All the while grandma and grandpa are raising the children, right? So there's all of these old school dynamics that are no longer in place today. Yeah, your grandparents, your elders, your kupunas oversaw the entirety of their mo'opunas, all of their grandchildren. Yeah, but they're old. They're at a different station in life. So your grandparents would then allot responsibilities to their mo'opunas, to their grandchildren. Yeah. There was more responsibility given to the older grandchildren. Yeah. And you had this all the way down to the newest born of the grandchildren, yeah, that were being cared for and looked after by the older children. Yeah? So you had these multiple cycles happening within the family dynamic, but each one in their place. And your grandparents were also the ones back in the old days, when you had somebody, now given everyone's family, right? So, but when you had a master come through of a particular discipline, you had a kahuna come through, yeah, what we call kahuna. Now these are masters of a discipline, yeah. The elders, right? Your grandma and your grandpa would be encouraging their grandchildren to go out and to demonstrate their skills for the master, right? So your grandma, your grandpa, yeah, they would say, oh yeah, this mo'opuna has really strong hands. This mo'opuna's got a really sharp mind. Yeah, but these are all things that the grandparents, taking care of their grandchildren would get to observe of them. Yeah. And all the while nurturing the na'au, that deep within, yeah, that intuition, that place of knowing, yeah, looking for and encouraging each of their grandchildren, yeah, to demonstrate what their life's purpose and reason is. And then when the grandparent knew it, they would say to their grandchild, go demonstrate that. Yeah. And then you would, hopefully, more likely than not, then the master would say, okay, yeah, come with me. Yeah. You're at an age, yeah. You're between the ages of 5 and 10, that's when you were chosen for a particular discipline.
Mm.
Yeah. From birth to the age of 5, or between the ages of 5 and 10, to that period, you were with your grandparents. Your grandparents were telling the stories. Your grandparents were sharing the songs. Your grandparents were sharing the chants. You were learning, yeah, how to care for, yeah, your siblings. You were learning your place. You were also learning about what it is the things that set you on fire. Yeah. What is it? Do you like to sing? Do you like to dance? Are you a dancer? Yeah. Feet. Yeah. Feet were incredibly telling symbols for our kupunas. Hands, ears. Yeah. What is it? Like, or eyes, eyes were all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stuff that your elders had the time, yeah, to observe and to witness and to nurture. Yeah. Yeah. Not to instruct, not to teach, not to tell, yeah, but to observe and to watch and to listen and to nurture and to encourage. Yeah. So that by the time you were between the ages of 5 and 10, you were already going to a temple. They weren't schools back then, they were temples set to sharpen and discipline your skill. Yeah. If you had a fantastic memory, if you could hear something one time and repeat it back, the genealogical chanters would be swarming for you, looking for you. Yeah. Your grandparent would be like, go show that. Go show your auntie or uncle or so, Yeah, that's the family genealogist. Go show them what you can do. And then that anterior uncle, the master of the genealogy chants, let's say, okay, listen to this. And then you repeat it back to them. You know what I mean? Things like that were happening. And then they'd be like, okay, yeah, you come with me. We're gonna, you're gonna be the one to archive the genealogies. And that took prayer, that took discipline, that took entering into a temple, being purified, and being consecrated to the mokuo hao, your genealogical chants. Yeah, and these are all family names, right? Like one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And they get longer and longer and longer the further you go back. Yeah. And more intricate, and the relationships even deeper. It's like, okay, okay, yeah, cool. We're all from the island of Molokai. Yeah, and Molokai is the island child of the great goddess Hina. But how? Yeah. The chanters knew how. Yeah, get it? Like all that kind of stuff. And the grandparent, and then your parents. And then you got to a place, right, where you entered into the Makua station. Yeah, Makua is the parent generation. And the Makua generation, they're the ones, preserving and perpetuating it. And this, that family triad continues. Unfortunately, today, that family dynamic is nowhere, where it used to be. Nowhere where it used to be. You want to know who's teaching our children? Go to this public school system. Yeah, but that's why they had to create that institution. Once they broke down the family dynamic, they had to create the institution to replace it. But all of it was to create that separation. Yeah, get you to question the truth. Yeah, get you to question self, place, belonging, so that you can be controlled easier, more easily. Okay, anyway, didn't mean to go on that whole huge tangent, but all of that plays a role. You know what I mean? All of that has significance in this line of truth. I woke up this morning, actually, everyone, thinking I was inspired, and I'm gonna talk to my teacher about it. But I really want to set up conversations about history. Yeah. That's the kind of direction that I'm really moving on a personal level for myself now. Yeah, in the teachings that in the teachings of our lineage. Yeah, I really am interested. I'm interested in pre-contact history, and I'm also interested in. I think it'd be such a blast to talk about what was happening at the time of contact. Yeah. And that's also just a personal sharing. I want to know who these people are. Who were they? Yeah, what were their names? And what was happening, more importantly, like what transpired there and what it was like for them. Yeah. We have a really clear teaching from our ancestors, which is it's an equation. Yeah, the equation is the past plus the future. The past plus the present equals the future. It's an equation that we hold in our lineage for a very long time. And it just hit me on a different level this morning. And I want to know more about the past. I want to understand more about our history. Yeah. The histories of our peoples. but I'm really gearing up to go into the nitty gritty, into the details of that. Yeah, like I said, I want to know names. Anyway, that's my kind of zone. You know what I mean? But if you listen to that equation, that's a really powerful equation that I just shared with each of you. The past plus the present equals the future. Yeah. We were doing it back then, we're doing it now, and we're going to continue doing it in the future. Fingers crossed and pray to God or pray to Akua or pray to whatever higher being you need to. Yeah. That's so, you know. But whew, that, you know, that's mind-boggling for me and gets me all excited inside too. So, you know, if you want to understand where we're going, you know, look at what's happening right now and then know what happened back then. But that ties into the family dynamic that I was just sharing about too. Yeah, it's the reason why. That's the reason why our elders were raising their grandchildren. Yeah, and raising their grandchildren doesn't have any of the, when I'm speaking of that, it doesn't have any of the current modern day slant on it. Yeah. There was your elders were key. Yeah, they were absolutely key in the family dynamic. They held the history. They held the wisdom. They held you gain wisdom from experience. Who has more experience on the planet in your family dynamic than your elders? Yeah. But those were the two components that they really went in hardcore to separate us from. Yeah, put your elders in a home, remove them from the family home, and put them into the system and shut them up. Yeah, and drug them out. Yeah, so that they can't tell their stories anymore, so that they can't share their chants, so that they can't share any of that knowledge, wisdom, or experience with the generations coming up behind them. Yeah, and I'm not playing, you know what I mean? I'm really not, okay, now I'm starting to get another kind of emotion in here, but I'm really not playing with that one. Look, my neck is starting to get red just talking about it, you know? You know, that's what they were doing to our elders. Now have a little reminder about what they were doing to your ancestors. Yeah. You know, anytime you have any kind of warring faction, yeah, the first thing the winners are going to do is to go and desecrate the bones of your ancestors. Yeah, that's war tactics 101. Yeah, you win the battle, you win the war, you go and you destroy the burial grounds of the people that you just conquered. Why? Because that's where all the strength is. That's the mana. Yeah. Destroy that connection and then take your elders out of the family so that there can't be any other history shared or spoken about in the family. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they were going even further with us. Well, they were going really, really far with indigenous people all across the world. Yeah, I mean, it was just flat out genocide in some places, pretty much across the board. But, you know, and we don't have to get into all of those ugly details, but they were doing things like, okay, don't speak your language anymore. don't speak your language anymore, you can only speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know, Robin. I know you,
They
Elder.
tried that
I
here.
know you, Kapuna. I know you, Elder. I'm speaking your language right now. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
The language, you know what I mean? If you can successfully remove the language from a people, you can deaden the culture. It's genocide on a whole nother level. Yeah? You're no longer allowed to speak your oral language. Every single spoken word, as I mentioned, this is all across Polynesia. Yeah. This is all across Polynesia we're talking about. Every single word, yeah, has a spiritual connection, has a spiritual insight, has in its core, Oia'i'o, the essence of truth. So now you cannot speak that language anymore. And if you do, we're going to beat you, enslave you, or just kill you. So these were not, you know what I mean? This was okay. I'm gonna get off my phone. Sorry, guys. Don't speak a language. Don't dance. Don't pray. Yeah, and we're gonna destroy the temples. Yeah, we're gonna destroy your family temples, your shrines, and your burial grounds. Yeah, all for the reason. Yeah. So understand your past, add it to the present, and you'll know what's happening in the future. So anyway, okay, thank you, Mahalo, Robin. Thank you, Robin, for sending me on that little tangent. Let's go. Anybody else inspired to share right now? Go in another direction, something lighter maybe.
Kawika, can I just, when you talk about the past plus the present equals the future, I mean, given what you've just shared, but really in the Hawaiian teachings, then, when Polynesians were living their teachings and they were living their teachings, they were preparing allowing their children to grow. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you say the past plus the present equals the future, it doesn't feel very rosy when you look at what was going on in the past, and there's evidence of similar stuff happening. So it's kind of not very positive, but at the same time, I think with the teachings, learning the teachings and introducing them and living by them and having that alignment that was taught, and moving forward with that, and then embracing that, and then you have a different outcome, different future. So I just wanted to bring that in, because otherwise I'm left thinking, well, if you look at what happened and what's happening now, it's really not looking very rosy. But there's the teachings are available. It's what you're doing. It's bringing that whole awareness of a way of life and a way of being that existed prior to the occupation.
Yes.
And so it's really, and it really comes down to, as individuals beginning to move with those teachings, move deeply into those teachings. And it's a responsibility for us to do that at this time if we want something different.
Right. Yeah. Well, and here's the, as far back as we can go in our past, guess what? Yeah. What do we find? We find connection. We find happiness all the time. And we find aloha. That was happening. That was real. Yeah. Then this happened. Yeah. Just as the story of our birth, right? We're born pure. We're born fully connected. We're born shiny and bright and beaming. Then life happens. We pick up some stones. And the fortunate few of us find a way to get rid of them to allow that light to shine brightly once again. Yeah. Really what really what that equation shares with us is the fortune that we have. Yeah. The Rosie, here's the Rosie. I'll give you the Rosie. Yeah, I'll share with you what the Rosie is. The Rosie is as hard as they tried, they were not successful. That's the rose. Of everything that they did, of everything that they're doing right now, they have not been successful. Yeah. I'm here, fortunate enough to be in your presence through a technological device in the 21st century, talking about the ancient ways of our ancestors. Yeah. That's the rose. That's the rosiness. That's the good of it. Yeah. We're still here, and we're going to continue to be here. Yeah. We just have to decide whether we're going to be on that line of truth or not. But once you've made up your decision, why? Then we got to get to it. Yeah. Then we got some work to do. And tons of really beautiful reasons to make sure that it gets done. Okay, so that's the
Thank you for the message.
yeah.
It was the message I was looking for today. You just gave it to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's that thing. It's like, oh, I'm thanking them right now. What a great message. Yeah. We've got a lot to do, and we've got a lot of really wonderful reasons to do it. Oh. And that's all that, that's the whole part of the Makau component, Makau being ready. Yeah, being ready. Yeah. Makau really, the essence of that teaching is, the Oia'i'o, the essence of truth of that teaching is, no matter what comes across your path, you are ready. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to make it. And it's going to be okay. Anybody else want to share? Then I'd like to wrap, begin to wrap us up here. So Catherine, did you have anything that you'd like to share?
Oh my, well, there's a lot there. I don't know whether we want to I don't know if we need to go back in. I mean, that was just such a great way to wrap it up. But, as you're sharing those things, of course, I bring it back to my experience of living in a culture that wasn't living that way. And just how much this culture has shared with me to be able to live that Oia'i'o, which, when Robin brought forth the fear, that I remember whenever someone used to say to me, now, Catherine, you've got to tell the truth. There would be this like, oh my God, I've got to tell the truth. There would be this pullback reaction of fear, it was very challenging. And I think that was because I was brought up in an environment where not everyone was telling the truth. I knew very deep inside me that there wasn't truth being shared. And why weren't they telling the truth? There was a lot of confusion around, why weren't all the grown-ups around me or all those who were meant to be, helping me understand what was going on in life? There must be a reason why they don't tell the truth. And of course, there's many layers around that. So there was a lot of confusion. And so when you really can drop into not the layers of truth that the Western culture were operating on, but when you drop into that very deep essence of absolute truth, it is an absolute relief. It's like, it's a breath of fresh air. It is like all of those fears and all of that constraints around telling the truth or having to work out the truth or what do I say, what don't I say, it becomes like this. It's this freedom of this is where we're all really are going back to. This is where we all need to want the direction that we're traveling in, is to get to that place where telling the truth is absolute joy, absolute love, aloha, whatever it is you want to give it. But it's not that truth that's got that fear and that worry and that concern attached to it anymore. And when I discovered that, it was like, oh, it's great to tell the truth, where rather than having this, there's so many stuff attached to truth in the culture I was brought up in, and the school system, and all of that. And then you brought back some really beautiful points. Like when I was growing up, I loved all the older people that I came into contact with. I was just naturally loved to sit and listen to them and be with them. If I had the opportunity, there wasn't as much opportunity as I now know I would have liked. And then I also had this thing where I knew that newborn babies and children, there was this part of me that knew very early on that there was something that they had that I'd lost. And I just have to be really grateful for that, whatever that essence that was within me that knew these things. Even though I didn't understand them, there was part of me that knew these things. And so one of the biggest gifts and the things that you're sharing and that I've come across in learning these teachings is the knowing of what it was that I knew, the explanation for the things that I felt, the truths that I had come to discover in my life that I'd had no explanation for. All of a sudden it was like, oh, that's what that was. And that's what that was. And how it all of those things that I had, as you said, the deep knowing, the intuition, the gut feelings about things, all those things started to make sense. And that just brings it back to the past, which is my past experience. Having this new understanding allows me now to move into my future and the future of whatever it is that I come across, to have that connection that feeling of freedom and joy in that truth. So yeah, and you know, Joe, there's many layers to that past, present, future. There's many layers to the truth and the understanding of the truth. And that's the beauty of these teachings is, you know, yeah, every time you hear them, there'll be another moment where you'll go, oh, yeah, you know, those aha moments. So mahalo for a beautiful, beautiful evening. Yeah, lots of really great juicy connections and little moments there for me. So yeah, mahalo everyone for being here and bringing those things forward.
Mahalo, Catherine. I want to offer an opportunity for everybody. This is my Haumana, my direct student. Donna, did you have anything that you'd like to share?
Oh, mahalo. Thank you so much, Robin. I really, really loved your sharing today. It inspired so much. I remembered a time when I was about 10 years old and my dad had given me the opportunity to tell the truth. And I was really afraid at that time too. And he knew I was lying. I thought I got away with it, of course, being 10 years old. And you know, he just gave me this look. And right then I learned about my conscience. And like the conscience is really where I need to pay attention to if I've done something wrong or not, rather than trying to please or be afraid of being afraid of my parents at that time. So mahalo, it was really special to tap into that. And Kumu, Catherine, your last sharing on like kids having that special quality. You know, just the other night I was teaching my 2-year-old nephew with, you know, Nana Ike Kumu, my favorite book. And I thought I would be teaching him something. And I really got a very good lesson actually right off the bat. So yeah, mahalo. Mahalo Kumu for this talk story, and mahalo Joe for making this happen.
Mahalo to you too. And look, does anybody have some closing words? Some you know, some share before we bring it to a wrap? I'm muted still. Okay, all
Oh,
good.
sorry.
Oh yeah.
Look, I'm probably worse at technology than all of you guys combined. I'm really not great at Zoom. Yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add. I don't believe. I think everyone's just about covered it. It's interesting to hear from, I guess, a young person's point of view, hearing about you guys all talking about, you know, when you were younger, and you know, telling lies. No, but I don't know. I don't think I'm trying to think of the last lie I told, because I have definitely lied before. I think most people have, but I think I've kind of grown out of it. When I was little, I definitely liked to tell lies, but not lies in that I wanted to mislead people. I just like to make up stories and stuff, which I think now is sort of translated to me loving to write and like become an author maybe. But I don't know if that's the sort of mistruth that we were kind of discussing. So I'm trying to think if I have something worthwhile to say. Hold on. Yeah, no, I don't think I have anything to add really. Which, yeah, I think everyone's got it. It was interesting to listen to.
Hey, and thanks, always thank you for your contributions. It's really good to to have that insight, have that perspective, that share from all generations. You know what I mean? So thank you, all three of you, for being here.
Thanks.
It is. It's important. It's important that the younger generations have an opportunity to listen to it, and no matter what we end up doing with it, all of us, it's gonna sit. From this discussion, it's gonna sit somewhere in our being, and whether it makes sense to us or not right now, there'll be a moment in there'll be a moment in our futures where it's like, oh, okay, that's what we were talking about. So and I keep my ears pierced, for the gems that your mom, that Joe's got, that Karen's got, that Robin's got, Damien, Andrea, I have you guys, Auntie Mary, Aunt Mary's kitchen. Whoever's over there, I'm listening. I've got my ears perked out for you. But yeah, it's the same thing for me. I just keep my ears perked for the older generations. Whenever they're inspired to share something, I'd like to make sure that I'm paying attention, because what I know for sure of my culture, my lineage, is that when an elder's speaking in our family, you shut up and listen. Yeah. And that teaching is right there. It may not make any sense to me right now, but I can guarantee that it'll make sense at some point in time. So anyway, thank you for being
Thanks
here,
very much.
all you guys.
Thanks.
Joe, do you have any closing words? Andrea, Damien, anybody?
But it's just that was awesome, and mahalo, Kawika and Catherine, and for all the shares. It just came together beautifully, just really amazing. I got some new levels and layers to it all, and that's the wonderful thing. Just keep on learning and sort of moving into it, sinking into it deeper. So yeah, mahalo. Oh, just one more thing. I just thinking about the still past, present, and future, and it's for me, it's the continuance, the continuance of the teachings and the preservation of that, the knowledge and wisdom that is still being passed down and that has survived. And so that's what gives me I just feel very lucky and blessed to have come across the teachings and have that understanding to move with. So mahalo to everybody. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone. We're gonna say our hui hos till the next one. Expect the link for the recording for this one to be up shortly. And I aloha you all very much. Okay, mahalo, thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.
Aloha, mahalo. Bye, everybody.
We hope.